Reddit writing prompts.
You know, you look familiar.
Don said, eyeing Victor with suspicion.
Don't I know you from somewhere?
Oh, you've no doubt seen me.
Victor replied, sitting behind his mahogany desk.
I've worked quite hard to be where I am today. I've certainly seen you around. I know that much.
Don replied, sitting back in the chair.
I don't doubt that. Can't be anyone in this city without knowing who I am.
Indeed.
Victor said, almost to himself.
So, Mr. Ergot, what can I do you for? Or specifically, what can I get you out of?
Just another run-of-the-mill case, you know?
He replied.
Some stupid robbery charge. What's funny is that I didn't even do this one. Why the hell would I waste my time with something so small?
They do seem rather desperate to finally get you behind bars. Or, at the very least, inept.
Victor replied.
And why, might I ask, did your family choose me?
Got specifically recommended to you. Some new hotshot lawyer in town, they said. I figured it'd be good to get you in nice and early.
Don said with a grin.
Develop a working relationship, you know? In my line of work, it pays to get the best behind you. Don't want you sitting on the other end of that courtroom, though you'd need a damn big set of balls to do so.
I assure you, Mr. Ergot, my balls are at best of a medium caliber. I know enough of your reputation to not cross you.
Victor replied. He looked out the window.
Something I'm sure some prosecutors have learned the hard...
Don laughed, a harsh grunt that sounded more like a cough.
What can I say? Some lessons are better learned the hard way.
He stood up, holding out his huge hand.
So, you in? Money, as the saying goes, ain't no object.
Victor stood and grasped it, shaking firmly.
I think you'll find I'm already quite prepared,
he replied. The court proceedings played out as they always did. The offence brought out flimsy attack after attack, but nothing would stick. Victor had an airtight defence, and throughout the day the jury had been given no reason to indict Mr. Hergetts. As the day came to a close, Don was finally called to the witness stand. He seemed quite comfortable in it, going so far as to wink at his family during his swear-in. The prosecutor did a commendable job of orchestrating what seemed to be an attack, but it seemed clear that she had no intention of winning the court case. Don would never leave anything to chance, and the prosecutor preferred the safety of her children over her case against him. Thus, it was Victor's turn to question him, to assure the court of his innocence.
And where were you on the supposed day of the robbery?
Victor asked, as Don sat back in his chair.
I was at home with my family, of course. Family always comes first,
he replied, grinning at the jury.
Indeed it does, Mr. Ergot,
Victor said, turning towards the stands.
And the whole family have corroborated his story. They're all each other's alibis. Now,
Victor continued as he looked at the jury.
No doubt, there is some bias here. Of course, a family might look out for each other, perhaps even lie for each other. How are we supposed to take them at their word?
Don simply smiled and shrugged.
I ain't lying, I'll tell you that much,
he said, not expecting this line of inquiry.
Fortunately,
Victor said, turning towards the stands.
We have proof. Proof that Mr. Ergot was indeed with his family at the time of the supposed robbery.
Don seemed a touch surprised.
If you could please play the video,
Victor said, as the courtroom looked towards the large screen. Don slowly rose from his chair.
Now, if you'll look closely at the security camera footage, you'll see the Ergot's family, including Don, at home with some unidentified guests. The timestamp in the bottom right of the video, if it's not too much of a strain to see, is the exact time and date of the supposed robbery.
Don stared wildly at Victor, then the video, then back at Victor. His grin was gone, and his family were suddenly talking among themselves.
Shut that off,
he shouted, rising from the witness stand.
I said shut that fucking thing off.
There is no possible way that he could have done the crime he was accused of.
Victor continued, as the video shows Don hefting an axe from his mansion's wall.
As he was clearly engaged in other activities at the time.
The video, soundless, showed the Hergetts family grabbing each guest, their protest clear. His son held onto the one nearest to Don, pushing his head down onto the floor. Don lifted his chair in the courtroom and threw it at the screen, the chair smashing into the corner of it but leaving the video intact. In the video, Don gripped his axe, pushing his shoe against the neck of the screaming guest, and then lifted the axe high above his head.
I move that the robbery charges be dropped at once,
Victor said as the guards moved to restrain Don and his family. He knew there was no use in hiding. Regardless of his success in the courtroom that day, Don's men would get him. No matter if Don and his wretched family would spend the rest of their lives rotting in a cell, Victor knew that he couldn't run. His men would chase him down, torture him, and then kill whatever was left of him. They'd kill everyone he loved before it, but fortunately, they wouldn't be able to find anyone. Don's men found him in the garden, Chopin's Opera 34 echoing in the halls, a glass of fine scotch at his side. His head rested against his chest, the empty bottle of pills lying open on the grass below him. They would do unspeakable things to his body, but it was already too late. His pain was finished, his revenge complete, and now he could finally be with his family, murdered so many years ago.